Hello and welcome back to the garden. Now this isn't the video that I had planned for this week, but change of plans because of the drier, milder weather that we have here in the UK at the moment, and it's an ideal time to catch up on those spring jobs. So this video will be shot over about 5 or 6 days, over a week, and I'll compile it in the end, or at the end, into one video. First job today is to lift and divide Snowdrops and the black mondu grass, Ophiopogon, to create a new area just down the path here that you probably can't see from that angle. Hope you enjoy. Digging up and replanting snowdrops is a common practice here in the UK this time of year. We call it lifting and replanting in the green, and that basically just means replanting the snowdrops while they still have all of their green leaves. And as you can see, it's very easy to pull them apart when you dig them up. You get a nice fresh bulb with a good root system, and I'll go on to replant that about the same depth as they were originally in the ground. So it'll be about twice the depth of the bulb. They're very small bulbs. Very easy process, and it's a great way to increase your stock. And why we do this in the UK, and possibly you do it elsewhere in the world, is you have more success with snowdrops this way than buying them as dry bulbs in the autumn time and planting them, and they tend to take a few years to establish. Pretty much guarantee by doing it this way you have flowers next year. Now I'm going to add all of these snowdrops into a border just behind the camera, but I'm also going to add some of these black mondu grasses, which I grow quite a few of them in containers during the year, but I've been pulling these apart, splitting them to add into the border where I'm adding the snowdrops. I want to make like a checkerboard effect. So I'm just going to pull this apart to create more of them, and I think I should be able to get at least 3 or 4. There's one, just has enough root on it to start growing. And I'll try and split this, although I may need to have a knife, see how I get on. There's 2, some nice big roots on that one. That's 2. Can I get any more? There's 3. Lots of roots, and I could get split that again, but I'll leave that as one clump. I'm not adding them yet, I'm just positioning them. Now I've added quite a few of the snowdrop clumps, and I'm now adding the black mondu grass in between them, and then when I've added a few of those I can see where I need to add more of the snowdrops. And that's as far as I could go with this border for this year. I've run out of the black mondu grass, the Ophiopogon grass. But I'm quite pleased with how it looks. Just finishing off with some mulch, keep the weeds out. And hopefully these grasses will bulk up in the summer, and next year it'll be a bigger and better display. So it's another day and another day planting snowdrops. I've added them all the way along the edges of the paths here in the white garden. I don't normally do this kind of planting where everything's regimented, but I just think it lends itself to that. So I'm going to continue all the way around what's left of the paths. I haven't got too many more to do. And if you do have dry weather when you're splitting and dividing these snowdrops, it's probably worthwhile giving them a water. The ground is incredibly damp here still, it's wet. But if it does stay dry over the next few days, I'll probably water them. When I start splitting and dividing snowdrops every year, I'm always full of enthusiasm because I know the following year how good they'll look. But I must admit, when you've done hundreds of them, the clumps are getting bigger because I'm getting to the end where I've had enough. Done. It's about to rain, so I'll quickly give you an end of day summary. All of the snowdrops have been planted around the perimeter of all of the paths. I'm happy with how it looks, but obviously it'll not be till next year when we get the full impact. So today's project is to add some primroses around this very mini stumpery that I've been working on over the last 2 years. I did add quite a few plants in the autumn time around the front, but I want to intermingle or weave through some of these lovely pink primulas just to give that extra boost of colour into the summer months. So that's today's project. Here is a close-up of the 2 primroses that I've chosen. This one is Tinkerbell, so very pretty, different shades of pink, small flower. It's edged around the petals with a deeper red colour and with a yellow eye. Beautiful. Grows to about 6 to 8 inches in height and spread. And the second one is another pink. This one is Delia Woodland Dell. Again, lovely pink flowers, larger flowers on this one. Similar size. Very pretty. Both will flower for several months. Do like to be in a semi-shaded spot during the summer months. Do tend to stay evergreen for me, occasionally in a mild winter. Just a point to note, people call these primulas. They are the primroses, just like polyanthus, cowslip, they all belong to the primula family. First job, place them where I think I'd like to see them. In amongst all of the perennials. Now these are in packs of 4 from my local garden centre. And I'm, for now, just weaving them through the very front section. Just to see if I've got enough to actually add more further back. I've placed all of the primroses where I'd like to add them. Trying to step in between all of the bulbs that are coming through. But these primroses They're actually a hardy perennial, although I tend to treat them more as an annual. But if they come back next year, all the better. They do say they're more of a short-lived perennial, 3 to 5 years if you're lucky. Guess it's all to do if you find the perfect spot for them. In the summer months, they probably would prefer to be out of the midday sun. Hopefully in this spot, because it's quite shaded, they should be fine. I'm also just taking out some of the annual weeds that I come across too. One of the main reasons why I picked this particular colour, it's not a colour I've used before, it's because it looks so good against the Ophiopogon grass, and these tiarellas with the purple running through the leaves will also have pink flowers on them in a month or so's time. And I just think it's just such a lovely contrast at this section of the border. Now it's the next day and I'm ready to start another spring job. However, I ran out of time yesterday because of the weather, so I haven't had the chance to continue this drift of snowdrops around the front. So I thought before I do anything else today, I would do that. And yes, the sun is shining and we have blue sky. And it's mild. It's not even that cold, although it was quite chilly first thing. Blessed with a lovely afternoon. I've added all of the snowdrops all the way around, all of the primroses. So pretty. I particularly love the Tinkerbell primrose. It's quite bright to film. Hopefully this comes out okay. The tete-a-tete, very dainty, short daffodils around the stumps. And then you have hellebores at the back and all of the other perennials. Do I like the pink primroses? Not quite sure about that yet. They're quite a departure for me. I normally would lean towards the yellows and the reds this time of year. But we'll see. If they return next year, all well and good. If not, I'll probably add something else. So today's project is to clean up this perennial flower bed. This is what I call my hot border, which is full of late season reds and yellow flowers. And I must admit, I should have done this a little bit earlier. This is a grass which looks quite dead at a brief glance, but it's very much alive. It just has all of the seed heads from last year still attached to it. I've done nothing with it. This is one of the few flower beds that I like to leave until March time. There's certain areas in the garden that I'll clean up in late autumn, but this isn't one of them. I leave this, all of the beneficial insects, birds can use this border over the winter, but now it's time to be cleaned up. So I'll put you on a time lapse. You'll be able to see what it looks like at the end once I've given it a good old clean. That's the hot border completely cleaned out. All of these perennials now require lifting, dividing and spreading around this border. But I do have one dilemma, and that's around these grasses. These are Anamanthale lesionia, bit of a mouthful, otherwise known as the pheasant's tail grass. And I designed this hot border around them with 6 big grasses growing right through the middle. Lost all 3 from the top section here. Only these 3 down at this end, which is more shaded, obviously they'll prefer the shade, remain. Don't know what to do about those. It's a bit of a dilemma. This wire mesh fence you can see is something that I put around this big border to keep the pheasants out, because they scratch around all of the young seedlings and perennials coming through. But the reason why it took so long for me to do this, it was a 2-day job because of all of these trees. I remove all of the leaves in this border. It's one of the few borders that I do that to. Down here in the shade borders, I don't do that. I just blow the leaves around so they're off the lawn, but I leave all of the leaves in here and they just break down over time. Everything's starting to look good. The winter aconites have gone over already, so have the snowdrops in this border. But the border that gives me the most joy is this new area that I developed last year, the mini stumpy area. This daffodil jetfire is so pretty, beautiful, lovely orange trumpet. The opening by the day now. It just gives me so much joy when I walk down here every day. So today's spring job is to start the pruning of the hydrangeas, and I look forward to this every year. I grow 3 of the more common types of hydrangeas: the arborescens hydrangeas, the macrophylla hydrangeas and the paniculata. Going to start here in the white garden with the arborescens. These are Annabelles. You could also grow Invincible, Incredible. They're all arborescens hydrangeas, and you prune them exactly the same way. So the first technique or type of pruning is hard pruning, and I'm going to cut this particular piece of very weak branch down to the ground. This is another weak spindly stem, so I'm going to take that right down to the ground too. Next type of pruning that I use is what I call medium pruning, where I cut a stem or a branch to about 18 inches to 2 feet from the ground, and I cut just above a node, which is where a pair of buds are coming out. So the next type of pruning is what I call maintenance pruning. Now this is a lovely strong stem which will hold a big Annabelle flower in the summer. So I'm going to leave this about 2 to 3 feet in height, and I'm going to cut just above a pair of buds or above the node. And once I'm happy with the shape of the hydrangeas, and I do leave these a little bit taller than probably average, because now after a few years I know the height that I want it at, I feed it. This is a one-off feed. Once a year I'll feed it with the rose and shrub feed, just around the base, about a handful. And if it doesn't rain, I'll water it in but with my climate, that's pretty guaranteed. Now I have all of this dead material that I want to make use of to create some new hydrangeas. So I've taken one of the branches, one of the stems, it's about pencil thin. I'm going to cut just below the node or a pair of buds, and then just above a pair of buds. And I'm just going to insert it, all right, push it down inside some gritty, very gritty compost. So I'll probably take about 10 of those in this pot this size, and I'll leave it out of the sun in the shade somewhere for approximately 3-4 months until I see signs of growth, and then I'll put them on. One thing I should have mentioned, give them a water, but don't overwater them over the next couple of months, because if you do, they'll probably rot. The second type of hydrangeas that I grow here in the Quarry garden are paniculata, and this is a limelight. But there's so many different varieties within the paniculata range or panicle range. You've got limelight, little lime, quickfire, there's so many now. But the pruning technique is very similar to that of the arborescens hydrangeas. When you're first starting out with a new shrub, cut it down to about 18 inches to 2 feet from the ground. Then when you get it to a height that you want, it's more about maintenance. I'm at that point now. This is a hedge around a small garden area, and I like to keep it to about 6 foot in height, and I don't want it to get any bigger. So I reduce it by about 2 feet every year. Just cutting above a node or a pair of buds. I'm removing anything that's flimsy that won't support a flower. I'll cut that right down to the base. Anything that's crossing, I'll remove that. Anything that looks diseased or dead, I'll take that right down to the base too. Everything else I'm reducing by about 2 feet. The harder you prune, just like the arborescens, the bigger the flowers. Once I've finished pruning these, I will feed it the same way as I did the arborescens. And then in about a week or 2 weeks' time, I'll come round and I'll mulch all of this area. But once you get to this point like I have here with this hedge, it's mainly maintenance that I have to carry out every year. But that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this video, a little bit different. Is it 5 jobs? 4, 5, 6, can't remember now, in the past week. But the weather's been good today. I've really enjoyed cutting back these hydrangeas, but I won't make you watch me cut all of these back because it'll take quite a while. So I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.